I'll simply say this, that I think we're in a situation where, you can't, you just can't, you cannot quantify how bad this situation was yesterday.
Yeah.
So you hear all of this nonsense about, you hear all this nonsense about violence and taking back America, and then you get to the fact that they had to stop the vote in the Electoral College process yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So at 8 Eastern, they started it back up again after the police and the National Guard came in. And all of a sudden, what you have is a situation where we go until something like 5 Eastern this morning is when they finally certified this vote. And Mike Pence is now put in the awkward situation of having to fear every word that he speaks in Congress. But much to his credit, he still did his job. And at the end of the night, here's exactly what Mike Pence said.
To those who wreaked havoc in our capital today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house.
Pretty strong messaging.
Yeah. And then, at the end, when he certifies the vote and he talks about, that, hey, whatever it is, Joe Biden wins the Electoral College. He has to have 270. He's got 30. I think it's 307. Like, he very definitively and strongly announces the end result of that vote. And it's just one of those situations where you quickly realize that this never had to happen yesterday.
Yeah, here's Mike Pence with that.
To the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes. The whole number of electors appointed to vote for Vice President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, a majority is 270. The votes for Vice President of the United States are as follows. Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 306 votes. Michael R. Pence of the state of Indiana has received 232 votes.
Hey, I lost.
The announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected President and Vice President of the United States, each for the term beginning on the 20th day of January, 2021, and shall be entered together with the list of the votes on the journals of the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Pretty incredible. Mike Pence announcing his own loss in the election after just a crazy day in American history. And again, I guess this is just one of the questions that comes to my mind. Is this who we are now?
As far as like the violence is concerned.
Yeah, just in general. Is this who we are now? Because I don't believe that this is who we are. I think this is who some people chose to be. And I said yesterday in the show, very matter-of-factly, that it disgusts me that people I know and thought highly of, came out yesterday and applauded people ransacking the Speaker of the House's office and threatening violence against the Vice President of the United States. Like, I unfollowed several people yesterday because I don't want, like, you may be a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you in my life if that's how you feel.
Yeah.
If you feel like, hey, man, this is great for America, I don't want to be involved with you because you just don't fit into my framework.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's clearly not great for our country. There was more than a few people who said yesterday that, foreign powers and foreign adversaries of our country are going to use this time against us, and they're going to use images of people raiding the Capitol to put down the idea that democracy is a great thing. And I think that's really unfortunate. And this is why I say, he has been the worst president this country's ever seen. And the reason I say that is because it used to be that, hey, if you didn't like, if you didn't like someone's politics, right? Like, if you're a Democrat and you didn't, you voted Democrat, but the Republican won, we could kind of be civil about it, and we could just say, okay, well, I don't like what this guy's doing, but he's going to handle this office like a professional, and he's going to put the country first and its safety and what he feels is best. This president doesn't do that. This president is out for him and his small group of people, and that's it. And that's why we find ourselves here.
Yeah, and I just again I'm amazed that this happened yesterday. But I'm more amazed that half of the senators who said they were going to object, if you didn't see it last night, there was one real objection. It was Pennsylvania. And Senate pretty much unilaterally dismissed it. Mm-hmm. And what happens is they're reading the Electoral College votes. Does anybody have any objection to Pennsylvania? Yes, I do. They have to have a senator and a congressman sign a letter of dispute.
Here's Scott Perry from Pennsylvania.
Mr. President, sadly but resolutely, I object to the electoral votes of my beloved Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on the grounds of multiple constitutional infractions that they were not, under all of the known circumstances, regularly given. And on this occasion, I have a written objection signed by a senator and 80 members of the House of Representatives.
In the Senate of the United States, ordered that the Senate, by a vote of 7 ayes to 92 nays, rejects the objection to the electoral votes cast in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
92-7. And I would remind you that that's a Republican complaining about Republicans. Mm-hmm. Because in Pennsylvania, I remind you, the election laws were changed by Republicans, much to the dismay of Democrats. Mm-hmm. And when the script got flipped, all of a sudden Republicans were like, oh, this is unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. So it's just...
They like to play it. They want both sides of the fence.
It's that game that I think is so dangerous, because you are saying that Republicans defrauded the country, but you're not using the word Republican. You're inserting Democrats and liberals and taking out Republicans. Mm-hmm. And that repeated itself across the country last night, to the point where former Senator Loeffler of Georgia refused to sign the letter of dispute for Georgia because of what happened with the breach of security and the ransacking of Congress yesterday. And it's, one of the final points I'll leave here with is, do you not find it odd at all that this horrible action taken by Donald Trump supporters, and I don't think it's too strong to say that it was an attempted coup. I really don't think it's too strong to say that. Because Rudy Giuliani also yesterday left a voicemail for Tommy Tuberville, the former Auburn coach, who's now a senator. He thought he was leaving it for Tommy Tuberville. And it goes on to say, hey, in the voicemail, Giuliani says, we need you to object to every single vote for every state.
Here's the voicemail.
Senator Tuberville, or I should say Coach Tuberville, this is Rudy Giuliani, President's lawyer. I'm calling you because I want to discuss with you how they're trying to rush this hearing and how we need you, our Republican friends, to try to just slow it down so we can get these legislatures to get more information to you. And I know they're reconvening at 8 tonight. But the only strategy we can follow is to object to numerous states and raise issues so that we get ourselves into tomorrow, ideally until the end of tomorrow. I know McConnell is doing everything he can to rush it, which is kind of a kick in the head, because it's one thing to oppose us, it's another thing not to give us a fair opportunity to contest it. He wants to try to get it down to only 3 states that we contest, whether there are 10 states that we contest, not 3. So if you could object to every state, and along with a congressman get a hearing for every state, I know we would delay you a lot, but it would give us the opportunity to get the legislators who are very, very close to pulling their votes, particularly after what McConnell did today. It angered them because they have written letters asking that you guys adjourn and send them back
This is a voicemail.
the questionable ones, and they'll fix them up. So if this phone number I'm available on all night, and it would be an honor to talk to you. Thank you.
That's Rudy.
That's a voicemail, bro.
Wait, but it gets better. That's Rudy Giuliani, the President of the United States personal attorney, Mayor of America, one of the heroes of 9/11, leaving a voicemail for Senator Tommy Tuberville on a Democrat's voicemail. He called the wrong number and left a message for Tommy Tuberville, a Republican, on a Democrat's voicemail. It never got to Tuberville. And you can see this voicemail was left after the insurrection, after the violence, after a QAnon supporter was shot and killed by Capitol Police in the Rotunda. After all that violence, the president and his lawyer were still trying to find a way to delay the inevitable.
And that's why I say, you know, when we talk about this president, I really hope people understand. It's not that I want him to be an awful president. It's not that I hate him for no reason. This situation might exemplify it the best. You just had the Capitol building ransacked, and you're having your lawyer, try to make an attempt to continue to get something done. That's just not going to happen because there's no evidence of what you're saying happened. So that's just insane to me.
And yet they tried. And then there's this whole issue with Twitter that we should get into.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a significant issue as well. Twitter deleted a video of Donald Trump, who reluctantly went outside the White House and filmed a video telling his supporters, "We love you." These people, he was talking directly to the people who broke into the Capitol. He essentially said, "We love you, we support you, it's time to go home. I lost this election because they stole it from me, it's not fair, it's time to go home." Well, Twitter didn't take kindly to that. And what Twitter did is they removed those posts from public view. They locked Donald Trump's account, and they told him, "Hey, you're locked out of Twitter until you delete those posts."
So here's the video.
This was a fraudulent election.
Oh, hang on, sorry.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
That was after they ransacked the houses of Congress. A woman was dead. 3 others were dead. I don't know how many people heard that. 4 total people died. 1 woman was shot by Capitol Police, a QAnon supporter. And 3 others had medical incidents that wound up in their death. And he releases a video saying, "We love you, you're special people, but it's time to go home." Twitter blocked his or locked his account, locked him out, removed those posts from public view, and they told Donald Trump, "If you do not delete those posts, you will not have access to your account until you delete those posts. And once you delete those posts, you're going to be in a 12-hour timeout." So he deleted those posts, and his 12-hour timeout should be coming to an end fairly quickly here.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you the level of just fuckery going on in Donald Trump's mind.
And I don't even think, I don't even think you're exaggerating in using those words. I mean, that is a great way to describe where he's at mentally. I mean, not only is he seemingly just not caring about the safety of the people yesterday, everybody involved. I'm not just talking about the rioters, but like all the police and all the people who were there. So you're not worried about that. You're not worried about the safety and security of our country because, by the way, during all that chaos would have been a perfect time for a foreign power to attack our country and, commit some horrible thing. Thank God that didn't happen, but I am saying that was a perfect opportunity.
Wait. By the way, do you not understand that probably happened?
I mean, yeah.
They ransacked Speaker Pelosi's office and stole documents. There are videos of people ransacking her file cabinets. Mm-hmm. Like, there's highly classified documents in that. She's the Speaker of the House.
Right.
There's a real good chance that classified documents were stolen from her office yesterday. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about, like all of these, like the Russians here recently hacking American servers, are you telling me that QAnon, who's supposedly this organization, like this QAnon supporter, this is who QAnon is. This QAnon supporter who was shot and killed by Capitol Police yesterday had posted that this was I can't remember what she called it, but the event where Donald Trump was going to quell by murder and violence the deep state of pedophiles and people trying to overthrow the government to bring Donald Trump down. Because QAnon's belief is that anybody who doesn't support Donald Trump, and I'm not even exaggerating this, anybody who doesn't support Donald Trump is a pedophile and a treasonous criminal who should be murdered as punishment. She went to the Capitol to carry out that event. She wrote about it on social media. And who is this person that did that? She is an Air Force veteran who is a mother and a small business owner in San Diego. She up and left, and her husband is quoted yesterday as saying, "I don't know what happened, because this is not her. She's known to be a Trump supporter, but I don't know how she got involved in this." Mm-hmm. That's how out of left field this whole thing yesterday was.
Yeah.
So when you talk about whether or not national security was breached or they were in the Speaker's office unabated because Capitol Police did nothing to stop them from doing that.
Which is a conversation on its own.
And finally, the last thing I want to get into real quick before we talk NBA. All of these athletes yesterday taking knees in the Bucks game over the Jacob Blake decision that also came down yesterday. Athletes taking to Twitter, to Instagram.
Right.
The NBA trying to figure out if they were going to play the Wizards game. Like all of this stuff happening. So many athletes and entertainers on the record talking about their disdain for what happened yesterday. Is that good? We talk about this every time something happens. Mm-hmm. Because the overwhelming message was, if these had been Black Lives Matter supporters, they probably would have been shot and killed.
Yeah.
There would have been mass arrests. Mm-hmm. There would have been violence against these protesters.
The National Guard would have been there.
But what did you notice yesterday about these protests, these Trump protesters? Well, they were universally white. Mm-hmm. And the Capitol Police did not respond. The National Guard didn't show up until much later. The law enforcement presence there, the FBI SWAT team, they were all late to respond. And all of these athletes and entertainers had a similar message. If these protesters had been wearing BLM logos and were black or brown skin, this would have been a much different outcome yesterday.
Yep. They never got inside the building.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think, I was thinking about this a little bit last night, where, with all the things that Trump said in his speech, the things that Giuliani said in his speech, and the fact that all, like you were just saying, the FBI and all the security presences showed up late. And it begs the question, did Donald Trump work to make that happen? Did something, was there effort behind the scenes before this day happened to ensure that they would show up late, and these guys could stoke the flame and make this happen. Because I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I agree if this was a black protest and this was full of black folks who were trying to get into the Capitol building and do the exact same thing, that would have been a bloodbath. I don't even have any doubts about that. They would have been at gunpoint much sooner. There would have been much more. There would have been just more force present.
Well, look at what happened when Donald Trump made his now infamous walk to the church across the street.
Yeah, where was the tear gas yesterday?
Yeah, to hold the Bible upside down. Well, it wasn't even tear gas. It was a huge military force moving human beings that day. And you knew that these protesters were in Washington, D.C. yesterday. They had been there for a couple of days. This wasn't a surprise. The Capitol Police did nothing.
Yeah.
And it's really, I think that's one of the biggest stories in this whole thing is celebrities are going to play an important role no matter what, because for whatever reason we idolize them, whether they're athletes, entertainers, whatever you may be, reality TV stars. Donald Trump is a president because he was on reality TV, right? We idolize them for whatever reason. So their voices matter and they're important. And universally yesterday, they all talked about the different colors of skin from the summer to now the winter trying to overthrow this election.
Yep.
And I got to say, I agree. I think that there would have been bloodshed yesterday in that group of protesters had they been Black Lives Matter supporters.
Yep.
And I think what's interesting is so many people talked about how, the left and the liberals, they want violence and they're looting and rioting and destroying property. So what was that yesterday? Matt Gaetz, the piece of crap congressman, gets up last night and says, "Well, those weren't Trump supporters. Those were Antifa dressed in Trump regalia to hide themselves." Bro, what are you talking about? Those were Trump supporters.
Yeah.
He spoke directly to them, instructed them to march down the street to Congress.
We're going to the Capitol. Let's go.
And then they went down the street to Congress. The people that were in Nancy Pelosi's office and standing at the speaker's podium in both halls of Congress were known leaders of QAnon. These are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what's next. I mean, I don't know where, if you're Donald Trump today, if you're Rudy, if you're,
does he have a future?
No, dude, unless, and maybe all these Republican, senators and Congress people who totally flipped the script and, went against him yesterday, maybe they're just saving face or something, but I can't imagine after this that Donald Trump has a future in politics.
Well,
I mean, this is crazy.
I think one of the things that's very interesting, and it's really important that we understand this. Donald Trump last night issued a statement late into the night, after the vote came down, pledging to have now a peaceful transition of power to Joe Biden's presidency.
Oh.
Note he didn't do that on Twitter because he's still locked out. But I think he realizes now he's a man without a home. They don't want him in Florida. Last night was one of the more interesting things was the management association at Mar-a-Lago. And if you guys haven't, we talked about this earlier on the show a couple weeks ago. He's not allowed to live full-time at Mar-a-Lago. The only reason that he has a tax shelter there, and the only reason that the neighborhood there allowed him to take that club private is because there are no permanent residences at Mar-a-Lago. And I don't know how many people realize this, but you are not allowed to, you are not allowed to stay at Mar-a-Lago for more than 14 consecutive days. So for 2 weeks you can stay there, but then you have to leave. Because after that, you're considered a resident. Donald Trump is moving there full time, to the point where massive renovations are underway for preparing for him and Melania to arrive. Well, there's a lawsuit going on that was before yesterday. There's a lawsuit going on to prevent him from living there because he gets a huge tax shelter out of it, and it's against the bylaws of being this private club. Well, yesterday, that was one of the huge talking points was he's not coming here. He wanted to go to Turnberry in Scotland, which is another golf club that he owns. The Scottish Prime Minister said he's not allowed here. We are not allowing him in because of COVID protocols. His plane will not be allowed to land.
Yeah.
Like, he has nowhere to go. He's not welcome in New York anymore.
I was going to say, you can't go to New York.
Which is where he was born and raised.
Yeah. I mean,
and he made his name.
Yeah, that's his home.
He can't go to New York.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to the inauguration.
No.
I mean, you just mark that shit down right now. Donald Trump is not going to Joe Biden's inauguration.
He'll be out well before that.
Yeah.
He'll leave well before that.
Well, we only have 14 minutes left in this show, so we should probably get to the NBA.
Okay. Yep.
Make sure you like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate everybody. I mean, our growth on this show has been pretty cool. And, Lopes fan Gabe made a great point. Jake's a lazy ass.
Yep.
So what's going to happen going forward, I'm going to put you on the spot now because I'm going to commit you to it.
Okay, thanks.
Is that we're going to segment this show out a little bit. You're always going to have access to the full live stream show on our playlist and on our channel, but we're going to create, clips of different topics. Hey, Monty and Jake talking Utah Jazz. Monty and Jake talking your mom is hot. Like
Monty and Jake talking the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah, because your mom's hot.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that we're gonna have a lot more video content for you. So you can blame, I should say thank Lopes fan Gabe for that, because that was a fantastic suggestion. And we had talked about doing it, we just hadn't done it. So, as a Vitamix blender explodes in my house. But the point is, a lot of good, cool content is coming to the channel. And look at that.
Videos.
Look, Gabe Ledley says, "Good morning, fellas." Good morning, Gabe. It's all your fault. Let's talk NBA real quick, because I think there's an important moment happening with the Utah Jazz right now. And I know we have a lot of Salt Lake listeners on this show, and we appreciate you very much. We talk a lot of Jazz. We talk a lot of NBA. Everybody complains we talk too much Lakers on this show.
Well, I'd be upset too if I was a Jazz fan, but the fact of the matter is the Lakers are the best team in the league, and we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, I think what is interesting with the Jazz right now is that I have been a long-time Rudy Gobert supporter. And once Rudy Gobert got his $200 million contract and he's averaging $41 million a year, I think expectations have to go up exponentially.
Yep.
And you're watching the NBA come back to Rudy Gobert now. Because if you follow me on Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, and in case you haven't figured it out, you want to find me, just search The Monty Show. Somebody tell Jonathan Tarvanari that.
Yeah, don't spend 20 minutes on Google.
Andy B. Larson from the Trib has posted a bunch of videos of Jazz basketball. Andy does a great job. He's one of the best beat writers in the country, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he posted videos of defensive sets from last night. And it's just a highlight reel of Rudy Gobert and Royce O'Neal getting exposed. And the high pick and roll with mobile big men in this league is not going anywhere anytime soon. And if you look at the trend towards power forwards playing center, whether that's Anthony Davis, last night in New York it was Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert trying to guard a mobile big man is a joke. He cannot do it. Because what happens is, a guy like Austin Rivers scores 14 straight points to seal a Knick victory last night. And the Jazz are not adjusting. And I don't know what you say to Royce O'Neal. Honest to God, Royce O'Neal, I just don't think he's good enough to play on a contending basketball team.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah, this is two things. First off, you're totally right. Royce O'Neal is a guy who isn't good enough to play on a championship caliber team, even a contending team. You're totally right. He gets caught in no man's land way too often. But
Constantly.
I think an important conversation within that, and it's not an excuse, but I think it is a reality for Royce O'Neal and what he's able to do is because Rudy Gobert is not mobile, it requires whoever is in the pick and roll situation with him to do more and to be more intelligent than they really should have to be in the situation.
That's right.
So Royce O'Neal gets hung out to dry consistently when he's playing with Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll because Rudy has no idea where he should be, it seems like, or he's just not quick enough to get to where he wants to go.
Rudy Gobert knows that he is getting exposed by big men that have a mid-range game. Julius Randle last night. It's a consistent problem. It is very different for Rudy Gobert to guard a Clint Capella or any of these guys that play with their back to the basket. And by the way, how many of those guys are in the NBA? True number fives, centers that post up on the low block. Where's today's Shaquille O'Neal type player?
Yeah, there's not many of them.
There's not. In fact, he might, and he's not even that. I don't know that there is a pure post up back to the basket player.
LaMarcus Aldridge would be the only one.
And he's got a fantastic J.
Yeah, and his
game.
He's not the same as he was like 5 years ago, but he could still really shoot it.
That guy doesn't exist. Is my point. And so when you're paying a guy $41 million a year, he needs to be more than hey, I got a rebound and dunked it home. He needs to be more than a clean up and finish guy. And Rudy Gobert's never going to be that. And the reason I bring this up again, and I'm truly not trying to be a jerk about this. If Rudy Gobert cannot guard the high pick and roll and defend the rim at the same time, why are you paying him $41 million a year?
Because you didn't have the stones to flip him the bird and say we can do better. That's why, and that's just the truth of it. Because if you did have it, if you did have the courage, if you had the ability as an organization to say, okay, we talked to Quinn, we've talked to our GM, we've watched the game tape, we understand what we don't have, we also understand what we need because we don't have it right now. Rudy Gobert is not what we need. Rudy Gobert is not what the Lakers have and why the Lakers win championships, as far as big men are concerned. That's why they signed him, because they said to themselves, hey, yeah, we're going to build around Rudy and Donovan, and it's going to be great. We've been to the postseason. We beat the Nuggets in that 7-gamer last year. Like, everything was fine. But it's not fine, because you're good enough to get to the postseason, and you're not damn close to being good enough to win a championship.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Real quick, before we get to McDonald's chicken sandwiches, should Quin Snyder's job be on the line? I know this is a controversial topic, and I know that people are like, oh, look, another sports radio guy saying that they should fire a coach. Who knew? I don't say that lightly. He's in his 7th year as a head coach of the Jazz. He is a good NBA head coach. There's no doubt about that. But at some point, somebody's got to fall on the sword for the Jazz here. And you're not firing Rudy Gobert. You're not firing Don. Quin Snyder's on the hot seat. Whether you want to admit that or not, I am fully aware that there is buzz around this league that Quin Snyder's job is on the line if they don't pull out of this nosedive and do it soon. Because you're going to, where are they going, Milwaukee next, I guess? You're going to Milwaukee pretty much to die. Because if you go to Milwaukee playing the way that you've played against the Knicks and the Nets, I mean, you got embarrassed by a Nets team that didn't have Kevin Durant. You got embarrassed by a Knicks team who featured Austin Rivers. No offense, Austin. You're just Austin Rivers.
Yeah, so you got the Bucks tomorrow. You got the Pistons on Sunday, the Cavs on Tuesday, the Wizards on Wednesday, and the Hawks on Friday. And then you play the Nuggets next Sunday. So, you've got some good teams coming up.
How many of those games right now would you get? I would guess they win 2 of those games.
They'll lose to the Hawks. They'll lose to the Nuggets.
I think they'll lose to the Pistons.
They'll lose to the Wizards, and they'll beat the Cavs.
I think the Pistons and the Cavs are the 2 games, and I think they're going to lose to the Pistons. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be really interesting. I think if they do not pull out of this, I think Quin Snyder is at risk of not making it past the All-Star break.
Yeah,
which you would and I know you disagree with that.
Well, I don't disagree with it as much today as I did yesterday, because today, after watching that tape, I mean, yeah, Rudy Gobert is limited, but as a head coach, your job isn't to say, well, what could I do if I had X? Your job is to say, what can I do with what I have now?
Is there any irony in the fact that Gordon Hayward put up a career-high 44 last night?
Yeah, finally had a big game after going 0 for 57 in the last 10 games. Nice job, Gordon. The thing for me is that the Jazz should be so much better than they are.
Yes.
They really should be a title contender, and there are so many reasons why they're not, and Rudy Gobert is the poster child for that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, before we get out of here, when's the last time you ate at McDonald's?
I mean...
Years?
Yeah.
I think the last time I ate at McDonald's was actually in Hawaii. And my wife is probably more qualified to talk about this than I am. I don't remember eating McDonald's after that. We ate, what's their Egg McMuffins? We had Egg McMuffins
Yep.
in Hawaii when we were there last time. I think that's the last time I ate at McDonald's. So 2 years ago at this point. I don't eat at McDonald's ever.
Yeah. We have one right by the house.
We have 3 of them right by the house.
Yeah.
I am amazed that every time I drive by one of those places, the line is like around the building. And I ask myself constantly, who's eating there? And then I see this story yesterday that you pointed out that a group of McDonald's franchise owners wrote a letter to the board threatening action. Let's hope it's not QAnon. Threatening action.
Trial by combat.
If they don't get a modern-day chicken sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make of this?
So what they want is specifically what they said is they want a category-leading chicken sandwich. That's a quote from them, a category-leading chicken sandwich. So apparently people are not ordering, they're not ordering enough chicken, or there's an issue, or they see a huge opportunity.
They're getting their ass kicked by Shake Shack. I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this show in the state of Utah, or I actually think there's Shake Shacks in Arizona too.
There is.
If you're listening to this show in a place that has a Shake Shack and you haven't had a Shake Shack chicken sandwich, you're disgusting to me. You are not alive. You have not lived yet. The boys are not even boiling in the bag yet because you haven't had a Shake Shack chicken sandwich.
Right. So McDonald's was asking for a chicken sandwich, and here was the quote. And this is why this is funny. They're invoking JFK in this quote. So they said, JFK called for a man on the moon. Our call should be a category-leading chicken sandwich. Hold on. So you're so desperate for a chicken sandwich, you're invoking JFK and a man on the moon?
Okay, now I didn't do this intentionally. There were a lot of people who were like, well, there was an insurrection when they killed JFK. That was said to me on Twitter yesterday by a Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. Maybe these McDonald's owners are the ones that stormed the Capitol yesterday.
Dude, maybe they have some relationships at QAnon or something, but I just couldn't believe that
Real quick, because we've got less than 2 minutes here. Who has the best chicken sandwich in
Shake Shack?
Fast food.
Shake Shack.
Is Shake Shack in the same category as MacD's now?
No, it's not.
Oh, I mean McDonald's.
It's a fast casual. But I feel like I put McDonald's on the level of Jack in the Box and In-N-Out.
Okay,
and
who's got the best fast food chicken sandwich? It ain't Popeyes.
No, Chick-Fil-A has the best. For fast food, yeah, they have the best chicken sandwich, yeah.
Yeah, I think Wendy's does. I think Wendy's has Chick-fil-A. Why did you bring this up now? Chick-fil-A is overrated. Chick-fil-A is along the lines of In-N-Out French fries.
Mm-hmm. This is a tasty burger.
They're overrated, right? So if you can combine for me, and I don't know, maybe some fat ass around the world has done this already. If you can combine an In-N-Out burger with a Five Guys French fries, I will sit there naked and smother myself in peanut oil. I'm telling you, that's what living a full life is about.
Are people miring?
Yes, they are miring. I'm telling you. And is Casey Finlinson says Chick-fil-A with the buffalo sauce.
Yes.
Casey, man, I used to like you. We were friends. You're dead to me. I'm telling you. Is
this the tether?
Yes, because it's not Chick-fil-A. Live your life, people. Get outside of the Chick-fil-A box. Eat a chicken sandwich on Sunday. Just don't play football games at BYU. Screw you, Tarbanari. Anyway, all right. Show's over. Make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Just search The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. Hit subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow morning to close out the week. I'll tweet a lot of YouTube content today as well, because Jake's going to get his buttery fingers dirty. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Donnie.
Goodbye, trial by combat.